How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chof Daled, Daf 24 of Masechet Nedarim, friends. So, for like the first Amud of Daf Chof Daled, we continue with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov when it comes to Nidrei Zeruzin, motivational Nedarim that aren't really, you don't really mean them essentially. You're just trying to motivate somebody to do something. So we're going to discuss that for basically the first Amud. And then we get to a new Mishnah about exaggerational. I'm not sure that's a word, but exaggerational vows. Exaggerative. Exaggeraneous vows. Okay. Says the Gemara, and the Chof Gimel Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom, Ibarlu, they take, ask a kasha. Okay. What's the kasha? The kasha is, Pligi Rabbanon Oleh Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov alo. Do the rabbis argue with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov? The Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov said that if a friend makes a vow just to motivate his friend to come to his house and eat with him, so it's not a real neder, it's just a motivational vow, and it's not real. Do the rabbis agree with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov or not? Vimtin Sloma Plige, and if you say that they disagree with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, do we paskin like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov or not? Of course, we have this sort of rule that Mishnah Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Kav V'Noki, that the halachas of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov are measured and clean, that whenever he comes up, we paskin like him. So we want to know, do we paskin like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, or do we paskin like the rabbis, if they do in fact disagree with him? Now, Tashma, come in here. Ditnan, we learned in the Mishnah, Omer lachvero, that if a fellow says to his friend, Konam she'eni ne'ene lecha, I'm not going to get any benefit from you, Im I ata nota levincha kor shel chitin v'shtei chavias shel yain, unless you accept from me for your son a quart of wheat and 2 barrels of wine. Apparently, this other guy had done a favor for the vower. Maybe he had give him some wheat and wine. So now the vower wants to make it up, wants to return the favor, and he says to the other guy, he says, look, other guy, I'm not going to get any benefit from you unless you accept this gift from me, that I would like to give you a quart of wheat and 2 barrels of wine for your son. So that is not right. That neder, you could just be annulled without having to go to a sage. Because the receiver can say, look, I appreciate the gesture, but you're doing this to honor me, right? You want to give me wheat and wine, so you're doing this to honor me. But it is in fact my honor to allow you to keep it, and don't worry, you don't have to do this for me. It's my pleasure, it's my honor to be able to choose not to accept this. Okay, fine. So we see that the vower made this, what seems like a motivational vow, that, he's saying, I'm not going to get any benefit from you unless you accept this from me. And the receiver and we're saying that, this is not a vow that needs to be annulled by a sage, because the receiver could say, look, it's my honor not to receive it. So time of the Omar zeu kvodi, the only reason why it does not need to be annulled by a sage is because the receiver says that it's my honor to choose not to receive it. Halav hachi, but if that wasn't the case, if not because of this whole honor thing, nederhu, then I would think that it would need to be annulled by a sage. It would be a proper neder, money. Whose opinion is this? If Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Nidrei Zeruzin have. If it's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, wouldn't Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov say that this is just a classic case of motivational vows? That the vower is saying that, I'm not going to get any benefit from you unless you accept this from me. That he's doing it to just motivate his friend to accept this gift from him. So it shouldn't need to be annulled regardless of if the receiver talks about his honor or anything. So it must be that it's that this is the opinion of the rabbis, and they argue on Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and they say it's not automatically a motivational vow, but only because the receiver talks about his honor and that whole thing. But if not for that, then it would be a proper vow that would have to be annulled by a sage. So the Olam Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, we could say that it is in fact Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. But Umod Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that in this case Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would admit that it would be a proper vow. It would not simply be a motivational vow, Right behind the Nidra Ave de Omar Le Lo Kalbo Ono de Misanino Minoch Velo Misanis Minoi. Because in this case the vow would say, I'm not a dog. I'm not a dog that I need to accept for you and that I don't give anything back in return. And therefore, when he says, look, I would like you to receive this wheat and this wine for your son, I mean it. I really want you to receive it because you did me a favor. I want to return the favor and I mean it. And therefore, it's not simply a nidre zeruzin that would not need to be annulled, that would not need a sage, a chacham. But rather, it's actually a proper neder because he really means it. He really wants the other guy to receive it in return for having done him a favor. Okay, so we say that even in this case, this could even be Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and it's not an indication that the rabbis argue on him. Tashma, coming here, ha'omer lachavero. Okay, if this vower says to his friend, Konam sha'ato nenisli, you cannot get any benefit from me, im i'ata nosin livni, unless you give to my son, kor shel chitin v'shtei shel yain, unless you give to my son a core of wheat and 2 barrels of wine. So now it's punkt vaker. So in this case, the vower had done a favor for the other guy, and now he's insisting that the other guy, he's saying, you can't get any benefit from me unless you return the favor, unless you give to my son wheat and wine. Reb Meir Omer also achiyitin. So Meir says, well, this guy's forbidden to get benefit from the vower until he pays up. Chacham Omer, as the Chacham say, Avza yochel ater as nidro shla pi chacham, that the vower can be matir the neder without having to go to a sage. Sheyochel lomar hareni kilu is kabalti, because the vower can always, say, you know what, it's okay, don't worry about it. I don't need it. It's as though I received it already. I don't need it. So because the vower can say, look, forget it, I don't need it. So therefore, you don't need to go to a sage. The reason why you don't need to go to a sage is because the vower can just say, okay, you know what, it's fine, I don't need it. If not for that rationale, neder, it would be considered a neder, it would be considered a vow. And the fact that it's, motivational, that he's making the vow just so that the fellow, gives him stuff, that doesn't automatically make it, exempt from going to a sage, right? It doesn't automatically make it a motivational vow. Money. So who is this? It can't be Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, because Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would say that, you don't need the, I don't need it excuse. According to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, if the vower says, you can't get any benefit from me until you pay my son these things, it's a motivational thing. You don't need, the extra piece of, well, you could say, look, I actually don't need it. You don't need that piece. Right? It's by definition a motivational vow. And of course it does not need to go to a sage. So Elo, Lav Rabbanot, so rather it must be the rabbis who flige, and they're arguing on Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and saying that it would be considered a vow unless, except for the fact that the vow is able to say, look, you know what, I don't actually need these things, it's okay. So lo la'olam Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. No, you could actually say that this is also Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Humod Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Bahai, but Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would say that in this case, it actually would be a proper neder. It would not simply be considered a motivational neder. The nidra have mishum de amar lei lav malko ono de ma'anino loch vat lo mahanisli. Because in this case, the vower says, "Look, I'm serious. I mean it because I'm not a king. Right? Kings dole out favors, and you can't necessarily repay them. To the king directly, right? The kings dole out favors. What are you going to do? Pay him something? He has everything. He's the king, right? So kings dole out favors and don't expect anything in return. But he says, look, I'm not a king. I did you a favor. I expect that you're going to repay the favor, and I mean it. So therefore, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would say, even in this case, it would not be considered a nidre zeruzin, and therefore only because the vower can say, you know what, I don't need it, keep it. So only because he says that, because he could say that is why it doesn't need to go to a sage, but otherwise, it would be considered a proper vow. Omle Makshisha Brei de Rav Chizda to Rav Ashi says, Makshisha Brei de Rav Chizda to Rav Ashi. Tashma, come in here. Nidre Onsin, what's a situation, what's an example of a vow where there's like an unforeseeable circumstance in the vow. The example is Idiru Chavero Sheochal Etzlo. So if a guy says to his friend, look, I'm making a neder that I don't know, you're not going to get benefit from me unless you come to my house to eat. So v'cholahu o chala b'no o sheikvo nohar. And then what happened was the invitee, the person who was invited, couldn't make it because he got sick or his son got sick or he couldn't cross the river, whatever it was. So in that case, it doesn't need to go to a sage to be annulled. But if not for the fact that somebody got sick or some kind of unforeseeable circumstance, if not for that, neder, it would be a proper neder, and it wouldn't just be considered a motivational vow. Money, if it's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, then who cares about this unforeseeable situation that came up? Either way, it's just a motivational vow. So Lav Rabbanon, rather it is the rabbis who flige and they argue. So the Gemara says, no, La'olam Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, no, this is also Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Umisaver the Adra Mizamna Lizmina. But do you think that it is in fact, like we've been explaining, that it's talking about where the inviter is making the invitee swear? Lo, that's not what it's talking about. This mina adre limizamna, it's talking about where the invitee made the inviter swear. The Omar lay that the invitee said to the inviter, Mazmenes li lisudasech, will you invite me to your suda? Omar lay in, and the inviter says, yes, of course, you're invited. Neder ze olecha, to which the invitee says, do you accept this upon yourself as a vow? Vinodar, and yes, he made the vow. V'chalahu o shechala b'no o shikvo nahar hare elu nidrei onsin. And then the invitee got sick, or his son got sick, or he couldn't make it because the river was acting up and making it impossible to come. So in that case, it's a neder onsin. But that's not a situation of zeiruzin, because it's not talking about where the vower made the vow in order to motivate the other person to come over. It's talking about where the guy wanted to be invited and he made the vower a vow, and it's just not a motivational situation anymore. Okay, so therefore it has nothing to do with. You can't prove anything about Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov's opinion vis-a-vis motivational vows, because this isn't a motivational vow. Tashma Komenir Yasser Akin Amar Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Omer lachaveru, a fellow says to his friend, Konim shani nene lecha, I'm not going to get any benefit from you, im I atam sarech etzli, unless you come over to my house. V'sochal imi, and you eat with me, paschama, warm bread, v'tishta'imi kos chamen, you drink with me some hot tea. And the other fellow says, no, I'm not interested. These are motivated. This is a motivational vow. But the rabbis do not agree with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov that this would be considered a motivational vow. No, so it seems like the rabbis don't agree with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov with this whole sugya of motivational vows, including our Mishnah. Vishmamina pligi rabbanon ole shmamina. So we see that the rabbis, in fact, argue with Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and do not hold of this motivational vow situation. Maya ve'alah. So how do we pass in Tashma Kaminir? The Amr Rav Huna says Rav Huna halacha Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. V'chein Amr Rav Ada bar Ahava halacha Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So we see that the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that these motivational vows do not need to go to Bezdin. Alright, fine. Right, you don't need to get it annulled by a sage. Says the Mishnah, Nidra Avoy. So when it comes to exaggerations of Nedarim, exaggerations of vows, Alright, what do you want me to tell you? So you have a fellow, and he says, he makes a neder. Okay, I guess he says, like, I don't know, he's not going to eat fruit or something like this. That if, oh gosh, it's double negatives. If he didn't see the, amount of people that left Egypt over here on this path, so then he's not going to, eat fruit anymore or something like that. Or, this fruit is going to be forbidden to me if I didn't see the amount of people that left Egypt. So now the thing is, that's an exaggeration. It's something that people normally exaggerate about. So like it's okay to, if you literally didn't see the same amount of people that left Egypt, like it's okay. It's like normal to exaggerate in that manner, and therefore he wouldn't be forbidden to like eat that fruit or something. Or if he says if you didn't see a snake that's as big as like the beam of a olive press or something, that I guess that just seems to be like, I don't know, crazy talk or something like that, and also like it just seems to be not something that's gonna like make him forbidden to eat these fruits or whatever. Okay, so now Tana, we learned in a brisa Nidra Avoy. Okay, so now the Ran has a different girsa than our Gemara. The Ran has a different girsa than our Gemara, so we'll go with the girsa of the Ran, which is Kishem Shenidra Avoy Mutarim Kain Shavuos Avoy Mutaris. So just like we said that Nidre Avoy, right? We just in our Mishnah we said that, like, don't worry, you could still eat the fruits even though these exaggeration things were exaggeratory. Nonetheless, you could still, right? You're not gonna be osir. So the same thing applies to Shavuos. If you have these exaggeratory Shavuos oaths, so also they'll be permitted. What are these permitted oaths? Exaggeratory oaths. So if he says, well, I swear if I didn't see the amount of people here like left Egypt. So Midoim Karmer, like what the heck is he saying? He swears what? I swear if I didn't see the amount of people like who left Egypt, like what's he even talking about? So Amar Abai da Amar Shavuos Shara Isi. So Abai says no, what he's saying is, I'm swearing that I saw like the amount of people that left Egypt. And we're saying that it's not considered like a Shavuos Shav, like what's a Shavuos Shav? Like a ridiculous oath, like an oath in vain, Kilu, right? He's like, we don't say it's like super, it's way too exaggeratory and it's like a Shavuos Shav and he's got to get Malkus and stuff. No, we say that, no, he doesn't get Malkus or anything like that, and he's also, so it's mutter. Alright. So, Amalei Ravim Kain Lamalei Lemeimar. Well, if we're just saying that, like, okay, people normally exaggerate in this manner, so like, what's the big chiddush? So he's swearing that he saw the amount of people that left Egypt, and that's like a normal way to kind of, exaggerate in that fashion. So like, what's the chiddush of the Mishnah of Od? And similarly, Dumya Deneder Katani, that, in our Mishnah we mentioned two scenarios when it comes to a vow. One was based on, this whole thing about people leaving Egypt, but the other thing was about like the snake, and the snake being the size of the beam of the olive press. And while, an oath about, like the people leaving Egypt might be considered a normal exaggeration, but the thing about the snake being the size of the olive press, that would be a Shavuos Shav for sure. So like, why would that be permitted? So Ella Amar Rava says, Rava, if he says, look, that I will be forbidden to all of the fruit, I won't be able to eat any of the fruits in the world. He's making a shvuah, right? B'shvuah. If I didn't see on this path like the people who left Egypt, right? So and that's sort of like a normal exaggeration, and therefore it would be normal for people to exaggerate even if it's not literally the amount of people that left Egypt. But, I guess it just means a lot of people, and as long as he saw a lot of people, so then, he would be allowed to eat his fruits. But if he didn't see a lot of people, then he wouldn't be allowed to eat the fruits. And Rava says that is what, the Mishnah is that's what it means when it says that just like by vows, you can exaggerate and it's permitted, so also by oaths, it's permitted if you, exaggerate. Alright, fine. What do you want me to tell you? Friends, that was Daf Chavdal of Masechet Nedarim. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.